Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm going to deliver a very short lecture on organizing your speech or continuing the conversation that we've been having. We talked about introductions and conclusion, what makes them effective, how to organize them, and what parts are required. So it's only fitting that we cover the middle of the speech or the main points and how to organize them effectively for an informative speech. So before I launch into that, I just want to remind you that we're talking about oral communication. So you want to think about the differences between oral and written communication. Primarily that with written communication, you can go back, refer to what you just read, but oral communication is often you just hear it once and it's out there and never to be repeated again. So you as the speech writer and the crafter of your content need to make sure that you're boosting your audience's memory and comprehension of your key ideas. And a big part of that is having effective main points to round out a great introduction and conclusion. So it's best to have 3 to 5 main points arranged in a pattern. Our brains like to process short amounts of information in short snippets. So 3 to 5 main points is generally agreed upon to be a good length of content that your audience can process in a given presentation. You also want to make sure that your main points are balanced, that they're about the same length and size so that your audience can follow along from point to point and not be distracted by a super short main point followed by a very long main point that goes on and on. So as you're drafting your speech, look for balance among your main points. And if you're lacking in information, maybe bring in another supportive source or elaborate on your meaning. And if your one main point is really super long, maybe you need to cut that back or rearrange information into another main point. The final thing I'll say about writing your main points is make sure that every main point starts with a clear claim. All right, so a topic sentence that says, first, we need to pay attention to the signs of mental health issues in others so that we can help identify them and get people help. And then I'm going to follow that claim with support for my claim. So I would share statistics and information about how loved ones who speak to others, their concerns for their mental health, really help that person get help before they do more drastic things to harm themselves. And I give you testimony and examples to support the idea that we need to know the symptoms of mental health so that we can help others. And then I would take the time to explain how the support refers back to the claim I made. As these examples and statistics show, it's very important that we know the signs of mental health issues and get help for others. So this is called the line of reasoning or the chain of reasoning. There's a few other names for it, but basically make a strong claim, assertive claim in your main point, provide supporting information, and then explain how the supporting information relates back to the claim that you made in a nice summary statement at the end of your main point. So it's like a little mini essay in each main point. All right, that's a sure way to organize and support your ideas in a way that your audience can follow along with. So let's get into the different speaking patterns. There are 3 common organizational patterns for informative speaking. Let's break each one down, and you can decide which one fits best for your speech. The most common organizational pattern is a topical organization pattern, or where you have little chunks of information. So the 3 main parts of a car, 4 different types of tropical diseases you should be aware of if you're traveling to a particular region of the world. 5 characteristics of someone who is struggling with mental health issues. Okay, so these are chunks of information. I like to give the example. Today I'm going to inform you about 3 ways to avoid getting lost while hiking. I'm going to tell you about how you should bring a compass to tell direction. You should bring a GPS system to be able to tell exactly where you are. And finally, an old-fashioned trail map in case these devices fail on you. All right, so you can see information will unfold in sort of chunks or parts. Second is spatial organization, how elements of a topic exist in physical space. So today I want to inform you about the major parts of the nervous system. We'll start in the brain, the center where everything happens. Then we'll move through the body to the nerves and how your nerves play into your nervous system. And finally, we'll come back to the amygdala, or the regulation center at the base of your brain that helps do X, Y, and Z. So you could literally show us different parts of the body on a diagram, all right? Or here we're looking down at the into a car. Here are the different parts of the engine. I'm going to talk about each one of these. Or here's a map of the world. Let's zoom in on Europe. I'm going to take you to France, then Poland, and finally I'm going to end in Germany. And we're going to talk about the 3 largest countries of Europe. I'm not sure if those are actually the 3 largest countries of Europe. I know France is one of the largest. But anyway, my point is you can visualize it on a map, and so you take us on that journey with you. Finally, temporal organization. This is a topic that unfolds in a particular time order or a chronological order. It's sometimes called a chronological organizational pattern or temporal. So there's going to be a first thing, a second thing, a third thing, or a beginning, a middle, and an end. So biographical speeches or speeches on historical events often follow a temporal organizational pattern. Let's say I want to inform you about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. I would start at the beginnings, the origins of the Roman Empire. I would talk about the middle years of the Roman Empire when it was strong and powerful and grabbing territory all over Europe and Asia. And then I would talk about the fall of the Roman Empire. Why is there no Roman Empire today? What happened? All right, so beginning, middle, and end. Or I could talk about the life of a person like Susan B. Anthony, her early life, her major accomplishments in the middle of her life, and then her passing, okay? Or I could cover the 3 major things that she did. That'd be more of a topical speech. But if there's a time order and that time order matters, that's a temporal speech. The night of Lincoln's assassination. First, there was the assassination plot that was hatched among a group of people that were unhappy with Lincoln. Then there was the actual shooting in Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Finally, there were the final hours before Lincoln succumbed to his injuries. Okay, so that's a temporal organizational pattern. Now, the final element I want to talk about related to organizing your speeches is transitions. This is like the connective tissue or the connective pieces that help you move from your introduction to your main points, or from main point 1 to main point 2. And basically you're letting your audience know, hey, I am moving on from main point 1 into main point 2 without actually being that artless about it. So how to do this artfully? Well, you have several choices, but here's an example of a basic transition. Now that you understand what feminism is, presumably I just gave you a whole main point about defining feminism. Let's talk about its history. So now we're moving from a definition to the history of this concept. Or in addition to being a problem nationwide, suicide is also a problem on our college campus. All right, I'm pretending I'm a student who's reporting on mental health and suicide. So I maybe covered the problem nationwide. Now I'm moving to how it's a more local problem. So some specific types of transitions include an internal preview. You read about this in the textbook, and there are lots of examples, but basically an internal preview is letting your audience know what you're going to discuss in a main point. So to begin, I'll explain how to help solve this problem by knowing how to identify symptoms and knowing whom to contact for help. So presumably my main point ideas that will follow within that main point will be identifying symptoms of, we'll say, mental health issues and a contact number to help you with that. So that's what I will be expecting as an audience member. Your thesis statement for the whole speech is like an internal preview. So it's saying, here are all the things I'm going to talk about. Here's what you should be looking for in my speech. But we also see these within main points to tee up what you're about to talk about. Next up, we have an internal summary. So you can take a guess what this transition does, but basically it falls at the end of a main point and it summarizes what you've already talked about to help your audience get one last pass to understand your content. So in short, I've just talked about how wind farms are important because they generate electricity with less environmental impact and it's less costly. So again, I've hopefully just covered that in the main point that I am summarizing for you. Or I hope I've made it clear that information is slipping right by us because the news doesn't arouse our attention and it's unorganized. All right. Finally, enumeration or signposting. A lot of you have done this in your speeches already, where you have let us know where you are in your speech. When you say in closing, in review, as I wrap up today, that's signposting and showing us that you are concluding your speech. All right, but you can enumerate and signpost among your main points to let us know where you are within your main points. So simple words like, first, I want to start with defining this concept before I move into, what it looks like today. Next, let me tell you what it looks like today. Finally, all right, so your audience is like, okay, we're in main point 3. We're wrapping up soon. To start off, these little signals tell us, okay, we're here in the speech. And it helps boost understanding during oral communication. That's all I've got for you. So now you have all the parts of an effective and organized speech. So make sure that you reflect these elements as you're crafting and creating your own informative speeches that you'll be delivering soon. And I can't wait. Reach out with any questions or concerns. Have a great day.